Everybody, happy Thanksgiving on this 2023 Thanksgiving Day. I'm going to do a quick tutorial and I'm going to show you the proper way to take a float value, something like this, which is the probability factor from a GeoNodes group, and display it in the proper way using a Serpens property. Now close up this little strobing button. I'm kind of playing around with variables, telling the button it's both true and false at the same time. Caused a nice strobe effect. It's actually kind of cool. So anyways, I want to play around with this. So I'm just going to disconnect and I'm going to go ahead and create a custom property. And this one can just be my probability float value. Now I'm going to want to switch this to float here, and then I'm going to want to build out over here on the side. So I'm going to Alt P with this node and move it out. Let's move a couple things, get a little workspace. And now I want to start adding nodes. I want to add an on property update, and then I also need my set property, and it's pretty easy just to grab it here. It's a lot easier than typing that with the Serpens node wrangler, which is pretty sick. And now you'll have this set up, and I'm going to plunk the property node in here, tie this into the display property. Now this is going to run wild, positive and negative, so we don't want that. I'll come down here and give it a max min of 0 to 1, which will work nicely. And then what you can do is you can switch this to float and plug in the float value from the on property update, which is tied into the Serpens property. And this is the property from the modifier that we're actually going to be showing. And so as you can see, we actually get the sort of the reaction that we want, but I don't like that. Subtype will be factor. Actually, we'll switch that. So now when this updates, we have that nice slider bar from 0 to 1. It's just going to work a lot smoother. But as we can see, the low poly is not actually updating, even though it's connected to an on property update, and we're setting the property with the float tied in. So what's the problem here? Very simple. You can just go over to the Blend Data browser, under Data, under Objects. I'm going to grab the cube, which is my object. So you would grab whatever you have. And then I'm going to pull up the search filter here, and I want to type in update. And when I do that, I'm going to get an update tag. And I can copy that property. I'll close out the end panel, Shift V, drop that bad boy in. And it's a little sluggish because I've got something slowing my node graph down. It was at like 20 something when I compile, and now it's showing a little bit more. Yeah, it's like 49. It was 35. It's probably my strobe effect doing that. Anyways, I'll turn that off at some point. And so once you connect this, you can switch this to active object, which is what you're going to want to do. And what are we going to want to do? We're going to want to refresh the data that's coming out of here, because that's what we're trying to control, is data. And now we can see that we actually get the proper reaction. And just to get a better view here, I'll delete cube and get a slightly denser mesh with LMonkey. And I'll just surf that times, give it an apply. All right, looks good. And so I'll OCP that and put that in the proxy, and then we can begin to do a low poly on that. You can see it's pretty good, works nicely. Turn the proxy off. You can see how you could conceptually use OCP to create some procedural damage. It's just going to depend on how your mesh actually ends up looking. You can add just enough. Not going to add a whole lot, but it could definitely bump it up for you. And that actually looks pretty good. So there you go. That is how you would properly use an on-property update with a property that you just come over and you right-click, copy from the actual modifier panel here, and then this can be passed in to an on-property update, and that will give you the option to kind of do whatever you want to do with your mesh and then have those features there. And then if you want to add more functionality to that, which I actually have some plans on doing, then you'll be able to do that and combine a more powerful operator. Yep. Okay. And if you haven't gone over to check out the OCP add-on, I've got a few different things going on with it. I've added 3 versions to this, one the basic, and then the 1.5 version, which is what you actually see here. And then I've got a 1.6 version, which is again going to give you quite a few options for storing properties in mesh, location, rotation, scale. So this becomes more of a scene manipulator add-on, so you can just do whatever you want with it. So if you were to take a number of different objects and store them, I'll go ahead and remove the proxy off of one of those, and I just go ahead and take these out. I have to just reset them. It's funny, this one's got the reset button in it as well, just like here for the 3D cursor. But anyways, I just like adding those. I can't stand not having it. And so what you can do is you can take all these objects and add a studio collection to this, and it'll come out with integers. So if I was to say take one of these mesh objects and scale it up, it's going to show 1. So you'll be able to do that, or you can change this one and rename it, do whatever you want, and then you'll have the options there. And then of course you can rotate these and do anything you want. If you were to throw in a camera, it literally does every camera property. So if you were to change some things, like let's go ahead and add the camera. In fact, I'll just delete that one and then add the camera and everything in. And I'll change a few things, perspective to orthographic, depth of field. Just change things and add those properties, and it'll change everything. It'll change all the properties for the camera. It will do that as well for lights. If you throw in any type of light, doesn't matter, it does all the lights. And let's just say we add all of these to our collection and we grab the light. You now can change the color, let's change the power, change the radius, the max bounces, turn on shadow caustics, store that. And then down here, 5 was the different iteration where the light didn't have those properties. And then here's where we stored all those properties. And then if you were to say switch this to a sun, just for whatever reason, you can now switch that to a sun, bring it back to point, and kind of arrange a scene out in elaborate ways. But that's all I got. Just a quick update on what's going on. And if you guys have any suggestions for the add-on, feel free to drop something in the comments. Enjoy your Thanksgiving, and smash that subscribe, smash that like on the way out.